it's really easy to look really busy on Instagram. It's also really easy to look way busier than you are. And you don't do that on purpose. Like if I post a video of me patterning and then I post a video of orders being packed, we just assume, okay, Rifki spent 8 hours today patterning and then 2 hours packing orders. When that's not what happened. To take that video, it took me maybe 3 hours of work, and I don't pack every single order anymore. I have other people who do that. What would happen was that, again, wonderful, well-meaning people. These are my close friends, close family members would be watching my stories and, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. You look amazing. I can't believe when I was that pregnant, I couldn't move a muscle. Here's the thing though. I was not feeling so great, especially by the time my third trimester rolled around. I could not walk very much and I could not move very much. You can smile for a minute and a half and then go back to being exhausted. That's very easy to do.
Giving birth is one of the most significant events of your life. Sadly, the joy that you should feel can often be replaced with anxiety and helplessness instead. As a labor and delivery nurse, I'm revealing insider information to educate you, reassure you, and decrease your fear. In this podcast, you'll hear empowering birth stories and experts weigh in on a range of topics. Being Jewish also has me exploring Judaism's influence on the reproductive experience. However, I speak to anyone wishing to navigate their journey with more joy and confidence. I'm your host, Chani Fingerer, and you're listening to the Happy Birthway Podcast. Welcome to episode 49 of the Happy Birthway Podcast. The timing of this episode is uncanny. Last week, there was an asifa, a gathering of thousands of Jewish women to talk about the harms of social media, and it encouraged women to get rid of their social media, including accounts that they built up over many years for their businesses. Now, I don't believe in banning social media. I don't believe that that's the solution today. I believe in a more moderate approach and talking about how to be an educated consumer and user of social media, how to use it with intention, acknowledging that in the same way that the internet is here to stay, so is this. That doesn't mean that it should be without limitations and that everyone should have it, but I think it's a lot more complicated than telling everyone to just throw out their social media. I wouldn't be here today educating thousands of women without social media, and I wouldn't get daily messages from women thanking me for making a difference in their birth without social media. Last week, I also discovered a relatively new podcast, at least to me, but it was out since March, by Chanola Music. I don't think Music is her last name, but that's her Instagram name, and so that's what her name is to me. Anyway, the name of the podcast is The Weekly Squeeze, and she did a great breakdown of the program, that asifa that happened, and the speeches at the gathering, and she brought in a more moderate approach. And so I highly recommend that you listen to it if you are coming from that approach as well. After the asifa, there were some big Jewish businesses that made sanctimonious announcements about quitting their social media and shutting down their accounts, and that all of Parnasa is from Hashem. Listen, if you are inspired to do something that you feel is the best for your spirituality and your emotional health and what's best for the people in your life, then by all means, this is inspirational that you are taking the hard step of doing this. But please, don't do it with sweeping, grandiose gestures and strong overtures of moral superiority in the tone of your exit announcements. This week, I'm interviewing Rifki Itzkowitz of Impact Fashion about how and what she chose to share about her life, namely her first pregnancy, on her social media account. And Rifki made choices to keep most of these parts of her life private, and she examines her values that drove her to do so. But what I find inspirational about her is that she does it in a non-threatening manner and gives space and acceptance for all of those who do choose to share more. She understands that everyone has different characteristics that may motivate their approach on social media, and we get deep into the pitfalls of social media and highlight all the ways that the internet is fake. Rifki is the epitome of moderation, and we should all learn from her. I want to also remind you that my 20% off discount to the After the Birth online course is almost up, so make sure to grab it now. It's over on June 30th. If you're less than 32 weeks pregnant, but you still want to lock in this great price, then email me after you've purchased it, and I will delay your access so that you have it during the time that you need it for. So use code SUMMER to get the discount, and it's over on June 30th. So hurry. You can find the link in my episode show notes, or you can just go to you'll-love-it-academy.com/store. And listen, my friends, I thought about it a lot. Social media is a tool, like driving a car. If you think about it, cars are terribly dangerous machines capable of doing horrific damage to human life. But we're not getting rid of cars. Instead, we have speed limitations, driver's license requirements, and training, seatbelts, car seats, car safety features, etc. Can you get terribly hurt by a car? Yes, you most certainly can. Will you stop using a car? I mean, technically you can, but you probably won't, because you're still at risk of getting hurt because everyone around you is still using a car. And you will also encounter great difficulty getting to and from places because we are living in a modern urban infrastructure that depends on automobile travel. So in the same vein, I'm all for the people that don't need and want to have social media. But for those of us who use it as a source of education and a platform to reach others, to educate and communicate, we need to delve deeper into its complexities. And it's a lot longer of a conversation than just get rid of social media. We want to derive as much benefit from it as possible, and we need to examine our own values and goals for using it. And lastly, we need to identify the pitfalls and create boundaries to reduce the harm. And so with that, I hope that you enjoy this thought-provoking conversation with Rivki Itzkowitz of Impact Fashion. Today, I am so honored to have Rivki Itzkowitz on this show. Rivki is actually has her own podcast, the Be Impactful podcast, and I have listened to it so many times, and I just love it. It's so professional. And when I started my podcast, I was able to take some of the things that hello Rivki, I'm just going to introduce you. I'm going to refer to you as you from here on. And Rivki, I just really love the quality of your podcast. I love the content of your podcast. It's incredible. It is so interesting. You have phenomenal guests. And I need to just tell you, when I found out that you were not like someone in your 40s, I was shocked. No, but you have like an old soul in terms of...
Thank you. I take that as a very high compliment. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
I never saw you. Okay. So I can't tell you that like I knew, thought you were in your 40s and I saw you, but just the content, the way you speak, the things you say, they're all absolutely just, I'm awed. They're absolutely incredible. And I have a lot
Okay, guys, show's over. I'm leaving now.
No, but really, I have to just tell you that right off the bat, because now I'm getting to tell you that finally. So it's an honor to have you on the show, and I would love for you to introduce yourself and let us know what you do besides for the podcast. And I'm assuming that the podcast was kind of like an extension to what you do.
Yeah, it definitely was. So hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Hani. My name is Rivki Itzkowitz. I'm a fashion designer. My company is called Impact Fashion, and it's a line of modest clothes available in sizes 2 through 24. And the thing that I really want to do with my clothing line, and that I'm working on doing every day, is that I want women to put on my clothes and just feel fantastic and feel like they can do anything. And I also think that feeling, we all deserve that feeling. We all deserve, the beautiful things life has to offer, and also just feeling like we deserve those things. You know what I mean? There's subtleties there, but there's a big difference. And the way that the podcast happened, well, it happened in a couple of ways. One was that I had guested on a couple of podcasts and I really liked doing it. And I thought, oh, maybe I could have a show. And it was also a little bit deeper than that, in that I think that there are so many people around us, some of whom are more well-known than others, that are doing incredible things. And specifically the women around us that just have so much to offer, and that are, when you have those long conversations, like with your girlfriends in the middle of the night, or, those, what were they called in sleepaway camp? DMCs, right?
Yeah.
Those deep, meaningful, like when you have those conversations, you find that the people around you really have insight into their lives, into things going on in the world, into specific topics. Everyone has something that they're passionate about. So I wanted to give a platform to those voices. So on the Be Impactful podcast, I interview women of all types. Some are from Some aren't. Some are Jewish, some aren't. Some are experts on a specific topic. Some come on to share their stories, their experiences with certain things. And all of them have passion and something to offer. And that I thought was really important to highlight. Plus, it was a really great excuse for me to talk to some really awesome people. So that was definitely a big part of that. So yeah, but I am a fashion designer first and foremost. Impact fashion is my full-time job, and the Be Impactful podcast is kind of my side gig within that, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and your fashion design line really has it's got intention, and I love it.
Wow, that's so wonderful of you to say. I'm so glad that you caught on to that. I am super intentional with all of the pieces that I put out. The line is available in sizes 2 through 24. And the reason why it's available in sizes 2 through 24 is because there aren't any really good reasons why it shouldn't be. There are, for the longest time, we have been told and taught that if we were smaller, then you can get the nice thing. And, how many times have we thought, oh, I'll buy the dress when I lose 10 pounds? I hear that every day, every single day. And to me, it was important to show not only, by the way, if you wear a size 24, you deserve to have a nice dress, but by the way, if you wear a size 24, you can look freaking amazing in a really nice dress, or, a skirt, a top, whatever it is. So I think that also because over the last probably like maybe 5 to 10 years, there has been a proliferation of modest fashion lines. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I really, really do. I also happen to know or have observed that a lot of these lines are started by people who don't necessarily have a strong technical fashion background. They might not have necessarily had the education on how to properly construct, design, and engineer a garment so that it fits properly on any size body, let alone a regular body that has like rolls and bumps and all that jazz. And that's not to say that there's malice there. I don't think that there's malice there. I think there's ignorance. And I've always been passionate about fashion design. I've been sewing since I'm 10. So for me, as someone who was trying to shop modest lines to from lines, and pretty much always worn, I've fluctuated, but I've always worn between like a size 8 and 14. And at those sizes, once you hit like a size 10, 12, it's really difficult to shop a lot of modest lines because they tend to run really, really small. And again, I don't think that that's malicious. I think that it's ignorant. And when you see that happening again and again, it's, well, I, first of all, love fashion design. But more importantly than that, I think, is I'm a couture trained dressmaker, seamstress, and pattern maker. I know how to construct a garment. I know how to sew, I know how to put pieces together that actually fit properly. And that was really, the big part of it. That was really what I set out to do, was to create this line that not only was inclusive, because anyone can make their piece, their pieces available up to whatever size they want, but that was engineered properly, but that was put together properly so that the pieces really look good on all of those sizes. And that's what Impact Fashion is really all about. And that's what I do over there.
That is like a huge feat to accomplish. I have to say, you gave me a lot of insight into that, like the structure and looking good. And it's just not like a cookie cutter, let's just take the same exact size 2 and make it a size 24 and expect that it'll fit in the same exact way.
Yeah, because it won't. The main difference in the way that I design my line versus how a lot of other people design their lines is that I design from the middle. So what most people do is that they'll start with a size 2, and then they'll it's called grading when you make a pattern from one size to another. So they'll start with a size 2, then they'll grade it up to a 4, then to a 6, then to an 8, and they'll go however high they want to go. When I design from the middle. So when I make the patterns, I fit them on myself. I currently wear a size 12. So because I'm designing from the middle, when I grade up, it's closer, so when I'm going from a size 12 to a size 24, I'm only jumping 6 sizes, aside from the fact that the truth is, and I mean, if Khani, I know that you've heard me say this a million times, your body shape is much more important than your size. Your size and size and shape are not the same thing. If you picture a circle and a square, and if I want to cover the square with the circle. So if I put the circle over the square and, event and if they're both the same size, meaning the square's got a 4-inch side, the circle's got a 4-inch diameter. What's it called? Yeah, diameter. Then you'll still see the corners of the square sticking out around the circle. Now, if I make that circle bigger, eventually it will cover the entire square, but it will never have nice, sharp, square corners because it's not a square, it's a circle. Now, even if that square, let's say that square is, I don't know, in a dressing room, and it tries on a circle, and the square looks at the circle and goes, this doesn't fit, this is awful. So the square goes home, and the square, I don't know, cuts out sugar and goes on a juice cleanse and cuts out flour and goes completely gluten-free, and the square becomes smaller. If the square goes back to that dressing room and tries on another circle, still not going to fit because it's still a circle. It still doesn't have those lovely sharp corners that we love about squares. So if you understood the difference between designing and dressing for body shape versus body size, because you can really make anything in size, but it's shape that really matters, then that's when you really get into the pieces that make you feel fantastic. And every brand, every company designs for a different shape and has a different like base person that they're thinking of. Now, for the longest time, the base person that every single company was thinking of was, yes, super small, but also super straight. They weren't really thinking of curves. So if you had like a little bit of a belly, or if you were a little bit bigger on top, or if you had a very tiny waist and like proportionally even button boobs. Can I say button boobs on this podcast?
Oh yeah.
Just checking. Just checking. Then, if you're proportionate that way, then it still wouldn't fit properly. So that's where the real design background is so important, because with that real design background, I know how to engineer shapes that work on different body types. And so that the same garment can look amazing on different body shapes. And yeah, then I make it in a lot of sizes, but it's really the base shape that you're starting with that gets that something that's really special.
My gosh, engineering. I've never heard that term used in relation to engineering fashion, but like, this is mind blowing. This is, it's just so interesting for me to learn. And actually, my teenager is really interested in fashion and design and all that. So one day she's going to have to apprentice you.
I'll hook her up. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, be your intern, get you some coffee, and then you'll, my
intern's pattern. I teach my interns. It's a real thing. But see, the thing that's really tied into all of this also is that when you don't have clothes that work for you, and literally all of fashion has decided that you are not worthy of being dressed because you're above a certain size or you don't fit a body shape, that does weird things to your psyche. That messes with your head. And especially when that's happening at a young age. And the truth is that, I know, listen, this is the Happy Birthway podcast. What we're really here to talk about is when I was pregnant. And I found that at the same time, it was very strange because I wasn't necessarily looking to be in maternity clothes. I wasn't looking to be in, tents and just like draped in fabric. That's not my style. It's not really what I wear. I wasn't looking to be in anything like super skin tight either. And finding things that worked for me was hard, but I managed it. But what really threw me, can we talk about the body comments? How come all of a sudden when you get pregnant?
So exactly. So of course you're on the Happy Birthway podcast, not just for your fashion, although I think it's like totally worthwhile, but you just recently had your first pregnancy and birth. And that was great to find out. And nobody knew about it on social media.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And what was so awesome is I've been following you forever. And then I got an email from you that you gave birth, and my heart just swelled with joy, and it was so beautiful. And I'm so happy to have you here and talk about all of that, especially being somebody who has a public platform on social media and navigating that entire area. And it's not simple. As someone who has that too, I have to think really consciously and then always afraid that what I said and what I shared, was it 100% appropriate? Was there anything that I'm going to have, negative repercussions about it? And so, we really have to be thoughtful about what we share, what we don't. And you chose not to share anything about your pregnancy and birth. And I would love to hear, again, because you're such an intentional person, the intention behind it, and as well body comments and just all of your experiences.
All of my experiences giving birth and being pregnant. Do we have 10 years? Here's what I will say. First of all, not being publicly pregnant was, I think, the biggest gift that I could have given to myself and my family. I do not regret it for a second.
Having a fussy, nonstop crying baby can take all the joy out of motherhood. Is it gas? Is it constipation? Is it colic? It's hard to know, but there is a solution for all of those. Happy Tummy is a waistband that comes with an herbal pouch. When you microwave the pouch and apply the waistband to your fussy baby, your baby is instantly soothed. That's thanks to natural formulation of herbs including flaxseed, chamomile, lemongrass, peppermint, spearmint, and lavender. Happy Tummy is all natural, no drugs or drops. And not only does it quickly soothe your baby, but it smells terrific. Happy Tummy also has adult-sized waistbands, which mothers love for cramps, stomach aches, and back aches. Use my code HAPPYBIRTHWAY for 10% off your whole order on happytummy.com. That's HAPPITUMMI.com, code HAPPYBIRTHWAY for 10% off. If you have been struggling with nausea and vomiting from your pregnancy, Ematerm might be the answer for you. Ematerm is a safe and effective anti-nausea wristband that prevents and relieves nausea and vomiting induced by pregnancy or motion, such as car and boat rides. It releases a low-frequency pulse that travels through the body's nervous system to the part of the brain which controls the stomach. This interrupts the nausea signal pathways. Ematerm is FDA cleared and designed to put you in control when you need drug-free therapy with no worries about potential side effects. Users can choose from 5 levels of intensity to achieve the best effect. The unique wristband design holds the device in place and makes it easy to put on and take off. It is FSA and HSA eligible, comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and a 1-year warranty. Go to ematerm.com, that's EMETERM.com, and use code HAPPYBIRTHWAY for 20% off of your purchase. You can find the link in the episode show notes.
Here's a little bit of background. Friends and family actually ended up finding out that I was pregnant relatively early on into the pregnancy. For anyone who doesn't know, by the way, over the winter, I gave birth. Nobody knew. Hi. Friends and family actually ended up finding out relatively early on into the pregnancy. My husband lost his grandmother early on into the pregnancy. And the custom in my community is that pregnant women do not attend funerals. So once I was literally in a car outside, while my husband's grandmother, who he was incredibly close with, and I was also very close with, while her funeral was happening inside, it was kind of a dead giveaway. So it was actually a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. She passed away on Shabbos. So it was the kind of thing where it was like on Shabbos, it was like, okay, so Bobby's dead. And also we're pregnant. We hadn't told anybody yet. So that was a crazy weekend. So people who knew me ended up finding out relatively early, which I didn't really mind. I had some time to think about it. Obviously, you're not showing immediately. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it just wasn't something that I was willing to talk about. It just wasn't something that not willing, but like interested in talking about. I show up a lot on social media and I'm comfortable there and I'm comfortable with what I've put out. And but probably the main thing that allows me to be so comfortable and be very open about the things that I am sharing on there is that I've already decided that those are things that I'm okay sharing. So I talk a lot about my body image issues. And I talk a lot about, losing 30 pounds in 8th grade and how that wrecked the way that I related to food and, and dieting through high school and how I feel about lots of different, very personal things in relation to me and my body and all of those. And those are things that I've kind of worked through. So I feel not an expert on, but I'm a little bit more on the other side of those. And that is a lot simpler. And also those are things that I'm comfortable having people know. And I think that there's value in having those conversations. I don't think there's anything particularly valuable about anybody knowing that I'm pregnant. I just don't. I don't think that there's any reason why anyone needs to know that I'm pregnant. I get it. It's exciting. It's fun. We want to get a little bit yentish about it. I love it when my favorite social media people make a pregnancy announcement, when they've got the cute little birth post holding the baby's feet. I get it. Like all of that is really, really fun. But I just didn't feel like I needed it. And then there was a totally separate aspect of it, which was I model a lot of the clothes on myself. And my line is not a maternity line.
I was wondering that, by the way, I have to tell you. And one more thing I just need to bring up before you continue is that I have so much respect for you to sticking to your values. it's kind of tempting, because you'll get more visibility. Like everyone's
of course.
waiting
Everybody
and
knows.
watching. And I
Can I
think
share a
that
little bit of a secret with everybody? If you ever see like an influencer or blogger from nowhere post a picture of their kids or husband, it means that their views are down and they're getting them back up. Like and everybody knows that it's the easiest. And some people do it consistently. Some people don't. Like it's the easiest boost. That was actually why I stopped doing it. I used to occasionally share a photo with my husband, usually like if we were at a simcha and I was wearing one of my pieces, or if we were just like out for brunch or whatever. If I was dressed and I was wearing one of my designs, and we happened to have a good picture together, I would post pictures of the two of us. And then I realized that for me, I was using it as a cheat. I was using it as like okay, let's get the husband up there. And then like, I know more people will see this. And it was feeling really lazy, honestly. And so when I made the decision a little while ago, I was like, let me see what could happen if I don't rely on this crutch, if I don't rely on this cheat. And things got way better. Views went up and engagement goes up, because when you're forced to actually think about what people really want to hear from you, then you put out much better things. The deep, dark secret of social media that nobody really wants to talk about is that we all like to complain about the algorithm. And yeah, I guess it's annoying. But the truth is that I think the algorithm is fantastic, because what the algorithm does is that it rewards good content. What the algorithm does is that it puts
valuable content.
Exactly. It's like there's no other system where if I work hard and I put out good work, then I am guaranteed to get a good result. And with the algorithm, 90% of the time, if you put out good stuff, it will get in front of more people. And the things that I find that don't do well are the things that are lazy. I know when I put up just like a random post of be like, oh, look, it's a cute dress. Like, I know, fine, people will see it, people won't, but those are not the things that are going to do really well. So yeah, I get it. I get why people do the pregnancy announcements. I get why people do the birth announcements. I just didn't feel like there was any value in that. So backtracking a tiny bit, once I found out that I was pregnant, I needed to actually go into overdrive work-wise, because like I said, I use myself as the fit model when I design my clothes. My line is not a maternity line. That meant that I had a very narrow window of when I would be able to create designs. Now, granted, I have my slopers and I'm not super dependent on like actually trying things on for fit anymore. But if I wanted to do my regular design process of like trying on muslins as I work and things like that, then I basically had to do that before I started showing. Like I needed to do that ASAP.
So you had to be organized.
Oh, so organized. Literally, if not the day of, then the day after I found out that I was pregnant, I sat down and I made a calendar of like the types of styles that would be released from when I found out through a 3-month maternity leave. I just did. I was like, okay, so I need to have this many styles. I think it was like, I want to say it was probably like a dozen or so. That feels right. Usually I release about a piece a month. Usually I'll take like 2-3 weeks to design a piece, and I'll kind of work cyclically. So instead of working cyclically, I worked batchedly, I don't know, in batches. And so what I did was that I just made this calendar of like, okay, so coming up now in this part of the season, it's like late fall. I need something that's like a good transitional dress. And okay, then we're going to be going into winter. I need a good winter piece. And then I designed all of them basically in my first trimester. Now I have to say I got pretty lucky in that like I wasn't throwing up every 5 seconds. I had a pretty uneventful first trimester. I was tired and whatever. I felt pregnant, but I wasn't incapacitated. So that was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just pre-batched all of this stuff, and a lot of my content is the process of creating. So I just recorded myself creating and then posted it literally months later. By the way, the internet is lying to you, and it's really easy for the internet to lie to you. Literally, all you need to do is record something one day and post it like 6 months later, and the internet is lying to you. Just putting that out there. I did this because I needed to create my line, and because I wasn't interested in being pregnant publicly. But it really opened my eyes to how easy it is for something to be so mismatched from the reality to what's online, like completely mismatched to a comical extent, really. And then the other thing that I realized for most of my pregnancy, definitely through my maternity leave, which I did take a 3 months maternity leave, I wasn't posting in real time. So, I was posting things that were quite old. And, I had told people that I was pregnant. And I had also told them that I wasn't planning on sharing it publicly. And what happened was that my close friends that were watching my stories or my posts or whatever, they were getting a kick out of how mismatched things were. But also sometimes they were inadvertently falling into the traps of like reminding me why I had chosen not to share. I'll give you a perfect example. Like around the time when I would have started to show, around the time when people are looking at you like, is she, isn't she? I'm not sure. Could she be? I posted a video that was of me patterning that had been taken literally the week that I found out that I was pregnant. It was months and months old. And a friend of mine commented on that video privately to me, obviously, like a DM in a story. She commented something like, oh my gosh, your belly is looking so cute. That's so adorable. Now, she knew that I was probably showing at that point. And I was showing at that point. But she was not commenting on a pregnant belly. I mean, was I technically pregnant? Yes. But she was commenting on last night's tacos, not on a pregnancy. Like that just now. I didn't tell her because what's the point in telling her? But it was just that kind of thing where I was like, oh, okay, this is okay, like whatever, fine. I was just like, like the comment and move on, like the story reply and move on. It wasn't something that
kind of like, thanks for reminding me why I didn't want to post pictures of myself pregnant on social media because I would get so many more comments about my body.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that I found very strange. And also like, I think most people who know me know my feelings on body comments and my stance on that in general. I'm not a fan. I think that when we make comments about each other's bodies, whether they're pregnant or not, whether you think it's a compliment or not, even if you're saying, oh my gosh, you lost so much weight, that's fantastic. I think that you're reducing that person to the meat suit that they navigate the world in, as opposed to who they actually are. And I have never, ever spoken to someone, and I've had dozens of these conversations, who has enjoyed having a comment made about their body. And I'll say this also, for the first time in my life, I was kind of on the quote unquote positive end of this, where, people would say things like, oh my gosh, you're so small. And they meant that positively. I don't know what to do with that information. Like, no, I don't. Thank you, I guess.
Yeah, this is so vital and important. And for those listening, telling somebody that their belly is so cute and small, even though they're 7 months pregnant or whatever, can be so detrimental for so many reasons. I've heard from so many women who are having problematic pregnancies where their baby was measuring too small, and it can be so triggering. And to them, it's not a compliment in the least bit. I've had women been told by doctors how lucky they are that they're vomiting so much and losing weight in their first trimester.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. But like, it was exactly that kind of thing where I was like, okay, I don't really know what to do with that information. Also, let's be real. While you're making that comment, you're just staring at my belly and like, hi, up here. It was just very strange for me. And so not having that conversation, frankly, with 8,000 people was a really nice present that I inadvertently gave myself. And that's not to say that I deal with, malice or hate or just like ridiculousness. I don't. I really, truly don't. I can count on one hand the number of times that I've had like a hate comment or something really vicious or anything like that. I don't know why some people attract that and some people don't. I don't. I really don't know why that is or isn't, but like it just doesn't happen to me. The other thing was my work schedule. I'm a full workaholic. I am someone who works a lot. I have long hours. I do active things. And when I say active, I mean like patterning is a physical thing. You're on your feet literally for hours, figuring things out and draping and all of that. And I was able for the most part to maintain my schedule while pregnant. Now I did that under medical guidance and all of that, while also still paying attention to how I was feeling. There was definitely one point, there was a point in my first trimester and a point in my third trimester where I had this rule where I could do one thing a day that didn't need to be done in bed. I realized that if I tried to do more than one thing a day, it just wasn't going to happen. It just wasn't feeling well, or I would end up really exhausted, or I just couldn't physically do it. Like, especially by my third trimester, I wasn't walking that fast. Things were going to take longer. And the other thing, by the way, the internet is lying to you. We've mentioned that a few times. It's really easy to look really busy on Instagram. It's also really easy to look way busier than you are. And you don't do that on purpose. Like if I post a video of me patterning and then I post a video of orders being packed, we just assume, okay, Rifki spent 8 hours today patterning and then 2 hours packing orders. when that's not what happened. To take that video, it took me maybe 3 hours of work, and I don't pack every single order anymore. I have other people who do that. So, those kinds of things what would happen was that, again, wonderful, well-meaning people. These are my close friends, close family members that would be watching my stories and, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. I can't believe, you look amazing. I can't believe when I was that pregnant, I couldn't move a muscle. Look at you go. Here's the thing though. I was not feeling so great, especially by the time my third trimester rolled around. I could not walk very much and I could not move very much. And you can smile for a minute and a half and then go back to being exhausted. That's very easy to do. And this is what I realized was that I kept having the same conversation with wonderful, well-meaning people. And I kept explaining to them, no, I really am tired. I really am exhausted and I really am not feeling so great. And this video was taken months and months ago. Or yeah, I put on a wig for 2 minutes to record a video quickly. And then I took it off and I got back in bed. I found myself having those conversations usually to assure the people around me that I was okay. But also I realized that had I been having those conversations with 8,000 people, then first of all, I don't have the energy for that. I didn't have the physical energy to be explaining that to maybe, I don't know, a couple dozen people, actual people in my life who I care about, who I felt deserved the explanation. Certainly did not have the emotional energy to be giving that to 8,000 strangers. And that was also a part of it. And the other thing was that I realized that the only piece of information that we have about how other people are doing is how they look. But for ourselves, we have a much more full picture. So we're usually comparing how we felt to how somebody else looked. And those are two very different things. I can look decent. Shortly after I gave birth, I would be walking around the neighborhood pushing a stroller just because I needed to get out of the house. And, what do you do to do that? You throw on a dress, you put a headscarf on, you get your most comfortable pair of sneakers and you leave the house. And that, by the way, is such an accomplishment, right? Out of the house, I did it. And your neighbor sees you. And I had a couple neighbors come over to me oh, Mazel Tov, how you feeling? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And a couple of them would even say you look fantastic. I can't believe that you're walking. I look amazing. And I'm thinking, yeah, right now I do, I guess, theoretically, but I feel like a schmata and I'm going right back into my pajamas when this is over. And this is literally my half an hour lap around the block, which, by the way, I'm going to make it around the block twice in a half an hour when in a half an hour, I used to be able to walk 2 miles or whatever. But yeah, I guess I look amazing, but I feel terrible. And you're remembering how you felt and comparing it to how I look.
It circles right back into the body comments. And so many people have this assumption, wow, you look so much smaller than you did after you had the baby. You must be doing great. You must have it all together.
Yeah. It's also the bounce back culture is also really strange. Because at the same time, someone is oh my gosh, you look amazing. You're walking around. Good for you. I can't believe it. Make sure you rest. Make sure you take care of yourself. I think that lasts for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks we give someone. And then it's, are you back in your clothes yet? Oh, when I couldn't do that, at all. My baby's 27 and I'm still working that off. Or, all those ridiculousness. The first time that it clicked in my brain that oh my gosh, bounce back culture really is very strange. So I had a scheduled C-section. It happened at about, I don't know, really early in the morning. That night, the first time basically that I had gotten out of bed, I take the catheter out. I hobble my way, somebody helps me over to the bathroom. I feel very accomplished about this. And I'm sitting on the toilet and I look down and my belly was just really doughy. Do you know? It was just funny. It was just this very strange, I had never seen a person have that. It's
kind of like
texture.
A deflated balloon.
So, exactly like that. Yeah. Exactly like that. So my belly was just kind of doughy and I'm on the toilet and I'm looking down at my deflated belly and I just kind of poked it because it just looked weird and funny. And I'm still super drugged up. This is maybe 12 hours after I gave birth. And I look down and I just say, oh, it's so squishy. Cause it was. And I think it was the PCA, like the patient care advocate, the person who's helping me into the bathroom.
Yeah.
By the way, those people are angels. They are like,
Oh, yeah. They
like
are my
that-
rock. Oh, the good ones are just absolutely like
I had
they
such
keep
a
the unit
positive
running.
experience with the nurses and the PCAs that I had, and they're just angels. Like there's a bond that I will have with that woman who will never remember me ever, but I will have a bond with her for the rest of my life.
But how many people will take you to the toilet and like clean you up and put underwear back on you?
Exactly,
You know?
exactly. So I look down and I kind of poke my deflated belly and I go, oh, it's so squishy and doughy. And she said, and I think really well-intentionedly, she said, don't worry, you'll have your flat belly back soon. Now, I don't think that there's malice involved there. I think that she genuinely thought that she was saying something comforting to me. And my immediate reaction to that was, well, I never had a flat belly, so like joke's on you. But either way, I guess some people are actually thinking about that right now. Like I guess right now, 12 hours post-birth, some people are looking down at this hysterical dough ball and feeling self-conscious about it or feeling weird about it or whatever. Personally, I just thought it was really funny.
I have to say, sadly, it's perpetuated in the hospital and medical culture because when I have small patients that give birth and their belly is like almost flat, there will be like these comments of marvel. Wow, look, it looks like you were never pregnant. I mean, these are, again, not coming from a malice place, but from an ignorance place. But these are doctors that are saying, look, I mean, not just doctors, but, nurses, whoever, look how flat your belly is. It looks like you were never pregnant. Literally, they just had a birth an hour ago.
I think that they think they're being comforting. And they probably are. And to a lot of people, they probably are. To me, I found it sad. And I think that also, by the way, the only reason why I was able to find it sad is because I sorted through all my body image stuff. Right. I did that in my early 20s, my late teens, early 20s. So it
just perpetuates though the whole body image, studying bodies and commenting on bodies. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I think that, the fact that I kind of sorted through my body image stuff, I have never felt better in my body than pregnant and postpartum.
Before we continue, I wanted to let you know about a revolutionary diaper brand called Dyper, Dyper. These eco-friendly diapers are made with viscose from bamboo, so they're soft on your baby's skin while still being extra absorbent to handle your baby's biggest accidents. Dyper wants to pass on the savings directly to you by cutting out the middleman. They ship your diapers to you for a low, predictable price with no extras or gotchas. Set your subscription and let them deliver the exact quantity you need. If you need more, they'll deliver them promptly with their exclusive SOS service. If you need less, send them back with a prepaid label. You can precisely manage your deliveries using their website or their mobile app. One of the products that I think is really cool is their Dyper Sense. It's a small sensor that you attach to your baby's diaper and it continuously monitors the temperature and humidity surrounding their skin. It will help you optimize your diaper changes, reduce overall diaper use, and may help reduce instances of skin rash due to prolonged exposure to moisture. All you do is snap it to the outside of the diaper and connect it to Dyper's app. It will notify you when number 1 or number 2 happens. Subscribe through the link in my show notes and you will get a free bonus diaper bag just for trying them out. You can cancel anytime with no obligation, but still keep the bag. KiwiCo crates are a monthly subscription of crates that come filled with age-appropriate STEAM projects for kids, from toddlers to teenagers and even adults. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Every crate explores a different theme designed to spark creativity, thinking, and learning. All projects, inspiration, and activities are created by a team of product designers in-house and rigorously tested by kids. KiwiCo offers all different product lines spanning a variety of interests and age ranges. Panda Crate is for babies from 0 to 24 months. Each crate helps babies learn by doing what they do best: playing, exploring, and most importantly, interacting with the people in their lives. Crates arrive every other month and are filled with 2 months worth of content. So if you're trying to figure out what a developmentally appropriate way to interact with your baby is, Panda Crates will take the guesswork out. For an exclusive 30% off discount on your first month subscription, go to kiwico.com, that's KIWICO.com, and enter code LEARN30 at checkout. That's kiwico.com, code LEARN30 at checkout.
You know how sometimes you don't realize how far you've come until like you're looking back, like way farther back, you're like, oh wow, this is such a huge gap. Um, for me, that was really one of those moments where, especially pregnant, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. First of all, I could wear whatever shoes I wanted anywhere. And that was amazing because my feet got so swollen. Like it was comical how ridiculously swollen my feet got. Forget about like I went up a shoe size. I could not, there was like, I could wear slippers. Like that was basically it. And like everyone just gives you a pass when you're pregnant. So like I went to like close family simchas in Toms because that's what I could get on my feet. And like bright red Toms, mind you, also because it was raining and those were the waterproof ones. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like everything that was, that was going on. Like I was a little bit freaked out that there was a person inside me, if that makes sense. Like the first couple of scans, I was like, oh, this is weird. There's
another human. Yeah.
There's like other organs inside my organs. This is strange, especially postpartum. I happen to have had a fantastic, and I still have a fantastic OB. And that I think also helped. But I was just like in marvel of everything that had happened, that was happening, that, even now a couple months out is still continuing to happen. And it was just this really crazy, I don't want to say it was magical because like I am not touchy-feely that way, but that's the only word that I can think of right now.
Pregnancy and postpartum is a time for many where they're struggling the most with that. And I love how you viewed it as, whoa, look at what my body can do.
I think that ultimately we all have these ideas inside of us. Like at a certain point, you just have to make a decision that that's how you're going to think. I'll say that for myself, working through body image things. I just decided at a certain point that I had better things to do than worry about being small. Like that was literally it. This was a scheduling issue. I'm not going to sit there every morning
so
measuring,
space, totally.
like measuring out my cereal so that I know how much I can have so that I can fit into the size 4 dress. No, I'm going to eat the damn cereal. I'm going to go along with my day. And if that means that I wear a size 10, so be it. The thing that I found was that there was just something about being pregnant, giving birth, and like the whole recovery process afterwards that was very, like, you have no choice but to be in tuned with what your body is doing. And I have a long history of completely ignoring what my body wants from me. I have suffered many overwork injuries, like physical, literal overwork injuries. And like particularly my back. And there was just something about like, well, you just can't do that anymore. Like, that's just not an option, because aside from the fact that you have to take care of the pregnancy, but I just couldn't physically do it. Like when I say that I said, that I had to make my schedule where I could do one thing a day that wasn't in bed, that's because I couldn't be out of bed for more than 2-3 hours some days. And okay, so then I worked from my bed, and I was doing things on my computer. By the way, another way the internet is lying to you, half the people who you see posting are doing so from their bed in pajamas or like while they're sitting on the toilet. That was also definitely a part of it. And also, by the way, going back to the whole sharing thing, I was so glad that I gave myself the opportunity to work through these things on my own. Now I've chosen to share that this is something that has happened in my life, and it's several months away, and it's not something that I'm planning on, talking about on an ongoing basis or anything like that. And who knows, maybe I will revisit it in a year or two or more. I don't know. But the fact that I wasn't posting, I wasn't, worrying about sharing this or anything like that, it gave me the opportunity to work through these things in my own space, like in my own time. I used to be that, like, whenever I would watch someone who would be like storying immediately post-birth, like literally from a hospital room, I would be like, okay, fine, that's what she chooses to do. Like that's, and this is not a knock on anyone specific. I'm not thinking of anybody specific right now. And for me, I would be like, okay, fine, that's what you're doing. This is probably not the call that I would make, but whatever, fine. Like sometimes I would be interested. Sometimes I wouldn't watch, not watch, skip, don't skip, whatever. I had a moment in the hospital where I think I had just taken my first shower. It might've been. I was like, again, maybe like a day or two post-birth. I'm still in the hospital. And I looked at my husband and I said, could you imagine if I tried to story right now? And he just started laughing because, like, mind you, I'm standing there like in a diaper basically. And he goes, why would you do that? And I was like, no, people do that. Like, they do that. And he goes, nobody wants to see you like this now. And I said, that's where you're wrong. They definitely do. I mean, granted, like I said, still in the hospital, so very emotional, but I was overcome with like this very intense wave of emotion that I just felt really sad. I'm sure that for plenty of people who story from a hospital bed, I'm sure that for them is cathartic. I know for a fact that there are people who love sharing and there are people who love being out there. They get a high from that. They get buzz from that. They love the community. They love the connection. And I can fully respect that, even if I can't really wrap my head around it, because that's not me. I am not someone who gets a high from sharing. If anything, I've learned I get a little bit of a high from keeping things quiet. And for every person who I'm sure loves storying from their hospital bed, I know that there is for sure at least one, if not two more people who don't want to be storying from their hospital bed, but feel intense pressure to do so. And so they do it anyways. And by the way, when I said that like I had pre-planned, I pre-batched content for months. So for months and months, I was posting things that weren't in real time. And that included going into a 3-month maternity leave. I know that now, like, especially by the time that this airs, like this announcement will have already been in. And I know that now people are going to go and try to date and figure out when I was pregnant and when I wasn't pregnant, whatever. You're welcome to play the game. I'm not going to tell you when I was and wasn't. Those are just not questions that I'm going to answer. I don't think that it's safe for an approximate birth date to be out there. So I'm not going to. You're welcome to guess whatever you'd like. You're welcome to try and ask my friends. They're not going to tell you. I was in a hospital bed and I wasn't even posting. I had other people posting things that I had prepped weeks prior. It was business as usual on my page and in my business. And I just felt like that was the responsible thing to do. So I really was glad that I gave myself that gift of not needing the pressure, of not having the pressure of, of feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to put something out there now. And the only thing that I have available to me is myself in a hospital bed. So I guess that's what we're going with. It worked in my favor.
Yeah. Wow. True to your character and everything else you do, you were very intentional. And I love hearing how that served you so well. It's very inspiring, Rifki. Oh. Do you have any other messages that you think are important for our audience to know?
I think that if there's one thing that I learned from this whole experience, it's that one of the biggest gifts that you can give yourself is time. And that is time to process, time to just feel things that are going on, and time and space to really just do that. And that I think is something that can be really, really healing. The other thing that I do just want to state explicitly, and I know that I mentioned this quickly before, I have made the decision not to share any details about my family. I believe that it is very difficult to keep children safe online. And I won't be sharing any details of my family in any kind of public platform. That's not to say that, like I said before, I'm not thinking of anyone specific when I say that. That's not to say that I think that that a certain blogger that you're thinking of who you maybe don't like the way that she shares her kids, that I said, oh, I'm not going to be like her. I'm not thinking of anyone specific. I'm making the decision that I think is right for me. And I would also just encourage you to think about, we know that what we're seeing online is not real. We know, we've read so many times, we've heard about the effects of just seeing somebody else's highlight reel. And we intellectually know this. And yet we still forget. And yet we still fall into the trap of her life looks perfect. Or I know everything that's happening in her life because I follow her and she posts a lot. If nothing else, let this be a reminder that the internet is lying to you, and it's not doing so intentionally. I mean, the internet, I guess, if the internet was a person, it would probably lie to you intentionally, but the people who you follow are not intentionally lying to you. They're just doing what they feel they need to do to either protect their livelihood, protect their families, or some of them are just looking to entertain you. So they don't want to tell you all their crap because they're just looking to entertain you. And that doesn't mean that they're happy and smiling all the time. It means that they have other places where they air that upset, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, do we walk around town, in our regular lives down the street and be like, all right, these are the hard things that I have in my life right now. This is how I'm feeling. No. So I feel like creators on social media are doing the same. And I just need to add.
That's like the perfect mushel. Because like I've been thinking about this so much lately, because for the like people that like to rag on social media about like how it's so fake, How many times have you met someone in the grocery store? How you doing? Fine. So good to hear. How the kids? They're great. Oh, fantastic. See you next week. And move on. We have been lying to each other about how our lives have been going for centuries.
I hate, how are you? I hate, hi, how are you? Like, do you really think this person in the grocery store is going to tell you how they truly are?
And by the way, what is the most uncomfortable situation? When someone in the grocery store actually starts telling you how they truly are. And it's like, honey, we are in the freezer aisle. I need to get my fish sticks and go. Like, I do not want to hear all about your family drama right now. I don't how uncomfortable is that? Right. And right. So like, this is not a new problem, right? I think the difference is that you're meeting every single person you've ever thought of and a couple that you haven't in the grocery store every single day, if not every hour.
Correct.
For forever. And that messes with our brains. So I think that that's also just something, let this be a reminder of that. And
I need to add, because as a parent of a teenager, a teenage girl especially, where she's growing up in an era of constant bombardment of social media things, and even if you're a parent that chooses to really limit or completely restrict your child from social media, they're going to see something somehow, somewhere. Social media is popping up everywhere. It used to be WhatsApp was just a texting app. Now it's a status app. You go to the status section, you're seeing everything. They're going to grow up. They're going to turn 18, 19, 20 and possibly, and get WhatsApp, and they're going to see
You're
that.
so
they're
cute that you think they're waiting till they're 18 to get WhatsApp.
No. I'm not cute. No. I'm giving you the extreme example because
even if you think, which by the way they're not, it's a new world.
Every kid is going to have exposure, and it's earlier and earlier. And I'm very conscious of teaching my daughter of being an educated consumer of social media and talking to her about it. And you just saw this video that your friend got on her computer from another friend about this hack or about this advice or about this information. And you need to realize not everything is real and that you see on the internet. Not everyone's an expert in everything. And just like you said, there is such a high level of depression among teenagers that is attributed to social media because exactly what you said, their brains are not developed well enough to understand as we do. And even our brains are still kind of catching up with this, like, not everything you see is perfect in everyone's lives. And so this also should extend to teenagers. So parents that are listening of teenagers, please speak to your child about responsible consumption of social media and understanding this for the sake of their mental health. They're growing up right now in an era of bombardment, and they really, really, really need to be taught. I think that every single school should have a class on this in high school about how...
I could not agree more. The other thing that I want to kind of just interject a little bit, a lot of business owners feel like it's a necessary evil. A lot of business owners feel like they kind of have to sacrifice their mental health to promote their business. And that, I have to be on Instagram. I have to be on WhatsApp. I have to be on Facebook. I have to be on TikTok, whatever it is. And if I changed the way that I did things, or if I, did things differently, then my business would suffer. I'd encourage any business owner listening to think about whether or not that's really true. I was forced to kind of not remove myself because I was still pretty active on, but I was forced to rethink the way that I conducted my page and conducted my content because I needed to work around a pregnancy. And there are definitely things about what I did to accommodate that pregnancy that I am going to continue doing. And that I have continued doing in the months since, because I have found that not only did it allow for higher quality content that led to better sales, but also it allowed for me to be more present for the parts of the app that really matter. The parts of the app that really matter are the interactions that you have with your customers. By basically being able to pre-batch to the extent where, like, on a regular day, I'm just clicking post and moving on, that allowed me to deal more with the, with the interactions on the app that are so much more important than on how I look on the app. And that's also kind of tied into the way we dress, being able to focus a lot more on how we feel than how we look, and how that applies to not only the way that we physically look, but our overall image. It's definitely a gift that you can give yourself. It's definitely something that you can pull this off. And you're probably not as dependent as you think you need to be. You might just need to get a tiny bit more organized and think a little bit farther ahead and take it from there.
Yes, this is inspiration for myself as well. So thank you so much. I'm kind of sorting. I haven't been on social media that long, about a year and a half. So I'm kind of sorting through all of by the time this episode airs, it'll be almost 2 years, but I'm sorting through all that and trying to navigate it all. And it's confusing, it's complicated, and it's so much more than I expected it to be when I started off here. So, and I kind of like podcasts for this reason too, because I don't even know if podcasts are considered a form of social media, but it is definitely a platform, a medium of communication where we can be so much more real about these things and talk about it in so much more depth and nuance. So that's why I really love podcasting.
Same.
Yeah, it's a completely different form of communication and expression of ourselves. So Rifki, thank you so much for taking the time to be on here and for adding so much value.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning into the Happy Birthway podcast. Head over to Yoledet Academy on Instagram to continue the conversation. You'll find the link in the episode show notes, as well as links to any additional resources, products, and services mentioned here. If you love listening to this show, you can help it grow by sharing it with your friends and rating and reviewing it. To stay in the loop when new episodes are released, make sure to subscribe. Remember that your health needs are unique and require individualized medical advice. The podcast is not a replacement, and some of the information may not be appropriate for your specific circumstances. My mission is to educate you so that you can confidently collaborate with your healthcare team. I believe that a healthy mom and healthy baby are simply not enough. We also need a happy mom with an empowering birth experience.